Yeah.
That's a nice way to put it.
That's it. I think other than that, everybody is good at their side. Even formal we need, informal we need. But when they come together, when they club together, I think we see the whole sum of real life struggle, the applications.
I love that. Like, we've gone through the heart of this, but if I could just ask you a little bit more, because even this is something I really want to
Yeah.
discover. Is practically, how do you think a system goes about that? We are two individuals. We're not going to change a full,
Yeah.
educational structure, but just to ideate on this, how does it change? In my mind, I do see some ways, like where you take children for more camps, you introduce them to more activities like that.
I think it's not just with schools. I will say it should happen from homes.
Oh wow, that's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
I think the parents understand whole perspective about why informal education is important as much as formal education. I think the teachers can do much better.
That's a really powerful point, because I think we worked with a lot of schools, and something we see actually, the parents have a lot of power and
Yes.
say. And if all parents in a school just say, hey, you know what, we want our children to actually become real, like empathetic human beings, now the school has no choice but to partner with them in that, So that's a really good point. It does start in the home. And I think it starts also with things like this, where we're just talking, ideating. One of my friends always says, conversations are what change the world. Definitely. The second we stop talking, bad things start happening. So keep talking, keep ideating, keep dreaming about better and brighter things.
Very true. If I have to ask you one question, now you are an informal facilitator, or maybe I can say just instructor, and now even you're doing your B.Ed, which comes that you will be in future be involved in formal education. How you're gonna balance it?
That's why I want to spend this time ideating. I really want to find out how to develop my heart now for the students in the future. I really don't know where God is leading me in terms of education, whether it's to influence some policy change, whether it's perhaps even to start a school where the whole goal is, values plus knowledge, true wisdom. I really don't know where it's leading me, but that's why I like talking to people like you, why I like reading more, and why I like doing what I'm doing now, because I'm getting all that informal education experience, but I'm also seeing where there are holes, because you do need structure. Camps are amazing, but at the same time, you cannot just send a child into the world with just camps.
Very true.
A child is not going to become an engineer just by camps. You need to give them the tools to learn. And I think if I could summarize the type of teacher I'd want to be, or type of educator, I want to inspire curiosity more than anything else.
Oh, that's very
Curiosity. I really think that curiosity is one of the most important things. If you're curious, there's no end to the levels you can climb.
Yeah.
It's a very important virtue.
I think one thing I can say is like being as a teacher is a incredible job. You will meet thousands of students who has dreams, who have imaginations, creativity, and if they are in the right hand of a teacher, right in the right, how to say put it,
If they're guided right, yeah.
if they guide, we have to cut this all. Okay.
I'm not going to. Your students have to see unfiltered Damini. Tell.
If
Yeah.
they are guided correctly, I think they can achieve more than what they have imagined actually.
Oh man, that's so true. Now, when you're saying it itself, I'm just imagining it, man. Do we really appreciate children? Do we really see them as the gems that they are? They're the future of this world, right? That one day, both of us are going to pass away. We're going to be 6 feet in the ground or wherever. Who knows? And they're going to be on top of the world. They're going to be the ones who are running this whole show. And I think it's really hard to enter that place of humility where you just teach them curiosity rather than just chisel them into what you want them to be. But really, when you were saying that, I was just imagining teachers, when you walk into a classroom and there's 30 or 60 students, do you look at them as just a task for the day? Do you look at them as just okay, fine, I have this done, I have to get this? Do you understand the gravity of what you're dealing with? You know, in an ideal world, perhaps all children would be taken care of by their parents.
Yes.
We're not living in that ideal world. Perhaps even this has its own perks. But given the circumstances, when you enter, are you looking at each and every one of those students and saying, that student could one day grow up to be a dictator who will kill a million people?
Very true.
But not if that child is given the right tools to grow. That child could one day become a leader, could one day be rescuing girls who are, in homes or whatever. But they need the right care. They need their heart opened to that. So I think teachers play a really big role in that
Very
way.
true,
And it
very
takes,
true.
like you said, heart change and empathetic vision for the child. I think I like when you shared about that baby that you saw on the road. You said you felt like it was your child.
Yes.
I think the most powerful tool a teacher can have in their arsenal is that vision of saying every one of these children are mine and having a heart of grace, towards every child.
I agree with you in all this, but there is something we actually forget is the pressure that teachers get.
That's true.
They
That's true.
struggle a lot
Yeah.
where they want to give their best, but why they're not able to give? Because of the behind things.
Man, you're really, and that's why I think policy has to come alongside this. You're
Yes.
absolutely right.
See, it's like they deal with their personal life, then they come to
Oh
school.
my gosh.
They become a complete different person, and then principals will be expecting them to be completely like, nothing has happened at your house. You have to a new jolly person, bubbly person, and just have to entertain the students. Then it becomes a show for them, and they don't enjoy it. When you give them the chance, you understand them and the students, there will be always best results.
Man, that's really something that I don't think I've thought about much because, like I said, I've not been in the formal education sphere, but that makes a lot of sense. Care for the teachers. And even one more thing you said, which was parents need to change their perspective. They're big drivers of change. If you stop putting that pressure on the teacher saying, why is my child not scoring this much, this much, this much, and why this, perhaps you give the teachers freedom to actually grow themselves. That's really true. And perhaps if we spend more time investing in our teachers and their policies, because one thing I know teachers have told me is many people get into teaching because they think you'll get a lot of holidays. You won't. In your summer holidays, you'll be working. Winter holidays, you'll be working. Come back home, you have to grade papers. You're right. I think empathy towards teachers is
very important.
Equally as important. What are some policies, Damini, perhaps if you were living in an ideal Damini dream world, okay, where you could just implement to make life better for teachers? What would you say those policies could be?
I think as we give time for children, like, they have PT periods, they go and play around, they have some free time for art. Ideally, for teachers, they say that we have off periods, but actually,
You're doing work.
we always 8 hours we stand, we still work, we have to grade our papers, we have to correct this, that, everything. Lesson plans you have to make, you have to complete the syllabus. There's so many things actually we overlook, and we don't see the real struggle of a teacher. But in this, if you really care for your teacher, for their mental health, you give them a time where they pick their time to just to relax, just to have maybe whatever they like, maybe just walking, walking in the nature, or not doing anything, taking a nap,
Exercise or whatever.
yeah, whatever they like to do. I think that will help the teachers to have a clarity, and they will become more proactive actually.
They'll feel more appreciated.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to ask you, right? Because this is the reality of it. If a teacher is working 8 hours a day, then if you give them 1 hour off, they're still going to have one more hour of work to do because that's the demand. There is 8 hours of work. So I'm starting to think maybe it's not just that, but maybe it's more. There's a demand that itself is not right.
But then you have to understand one thing: when you get into a school kind of setup, it becomes one teacher will be doing three teachers' work. That's where they have lot of pressure. If this work has been divided equally, and people being hired for those extra works, still that single teacher will get some kind of relaxation.
Okay, interesting. So it's a management problem.
Yes.
They're not hiring right.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there any ever cases where some teachers are given more work because of, say, politics or something like that?
Yeah, of course, that
Okay.
happens. And some are very good at their works. That's why they feel like we should be giving them more work. But
Wow.
eventually, what it becomes, they feel like we are being used.
It's burnout.
And yeah, and they just hit their rock bottom point and they feel like I'm done.
And then you're destroying the lives of students down the line because
Yes.
you've gotten rid of a very good teacher.
Yes.
Wow. So it's a management problem.
Yeah.
You're not hiring right. But then
Yeah.
also, I think that's also connected to perhaps there's not enough money in education in the first place. Yeah, or money is perhaps not managed
Yeah.
well either.
You know why when we started our conversation, we were, if you notice, we were more focused on the children based. The children were our center. We didn't think about the teacher.
You're right. That's really true. That's a
Yeah.
bias.
So many time when we do camps, we have felt ourselves that
Oh, that's so true.
why we don't get the extra time to to have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of relaxation.
And that too, we do camps for 2 days, then we get rest. Teachers are non-stop work.
Non-stop. Yeah.
And there's not enough appreciation. Like one more thing, right? In my childhood, that shaped a lot of my life. So there are people who clean toilets, who clean the streets. And very often people would use it as an insult and say, oh, you want to become a toilet cleaner when you grow up. And like initially I found it funny, but then, because of my upbringing, God bless my mom's heart and, my mom and dad for giving me that empathy and those experience. But like I'd slowly think like, who's going to clean the toilet if you don't? And I'm not saying that in a degrading way.
Yeah.
What I mean to say is every job is valuable.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as higher and lower job. Learn to respect everyone. And I think in our society now, today, if you're like an AI developer, you're the king. So worthy of all the attention. If you're someone who's on the street, like you've seen the akkas, no, who go around sweeping the streets, who's gonna praise them for what they're doing?
Yes.
Who's seeing to their well? There are many people. I'm asking rhetorically.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of people. Why are they not earning nearly as much money as these guys? They're the ones who are actually running the city.
Yeah.
And then you look at probably the crown of all of this, not actually, but teachers.
Yeah.
They're empowering the next generation.
They teach the values.
Parents, think about it. If you didn't have teachers, what would you do?
Yeah. See, homeschooling is also good. I'm not saying it's something.
I love homeschooling. I want to homeschool.
Of course, that's good. But then when you are in a homeschool, your parents become your teacher.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is a lot more demand.
Yeah, that's what. So it's like whatever you do, any form of education you choose, there is a teacher.
You're right.
Yeah. So if a child has to do best, you have to take care of the teacher. If you don't do that, everything will collapse.
You're right. Even if there are parents who homeschool, they'll want from their job, okay, they want a job that gives them time off.
Yeah.
Because teaching demands that from you.
Yes.
So why not have that same empathy towards teachers? You're very right. I think you pointed out a flaw in perhaps the way we approach this as well.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. I think informal learning has really shaped my understanding towards learning. What learning it itself.
Yeah.
It can happen anywhere.
Through anyone.
Through anyone.
Yeah.
It's just that you should have that kind of eye to see, that kind of heart to recognize.
So something that I've been trying to work through now as well is where do you go to solve this problem? So now let's start from the students. Students have pressure on them to perform. That perhaps comes from the teachers. The parents. The parents put pressure on the teachers. The teachers are under pressure from the principals because there's a loop between the parents and the principals putting pressure. But where is the ultimate pressure coming from for the principals perhaps? Of
course, the competition that we see in the real world today, every school wants to have 100% result. Every teacher wants to say that my students have scored well in all the subjects. But then we have to understand that end of the day, the child will not remember the marks and will not be remembered by their certificates. It will be only what they are learning. And how it can happen? Of course, we cannot set some rules, or if this only happens, some conditions that then only it become better. It becomes like, as a team, everybody has to work.
Yeah, you're
everybody has to be empathetic towards each other. I know there are some principal who have really understood was the struggle of a teacher, and they have given some leisure time, some kind of help. All that has helped the teacher to give their performance. No, it became really better. It's because they're being understood by somebody.
Yeah, and like you said,
Yeah.
even then, what do principals go through? I have no idea. Where are they getting the pressure from? Like, it comes always down to our view as a society and where we're taking pressure. Because let's just look at it logically. Like we talked about that cycle you're trapped in. Do well in your 10th. Why? Because then you'll get into a good college, blah, blah, blah. Ultimate aim is you'll get placements in your career. Okay, you might get that. But nowadays, this is a common running joke. The second you've graduated from your 4-year degree, all companies want minimum of 3 years of experience.
Yeah.
How is that supposed to happen? I don't know. Somehow, experience is very valuable, which is what we've been talking about,
That's your experience.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Come, guys, come and get some experience from us. Yeah.
You come and sit and talk to us. That's all. But yeah, I think it comes down to us as a society. And perhaps how we impact change is you have warriors out there who are fighting educational policy.
Yeah.
That's like ground roots movement, they're really fighting to change things. And then you have teachers who are also battling on the front lines with students, managing pressure, principals who are managing pressure from parents, because the principals are kind of like the shield for the teachers.
Yes.
If you don't have a good principal, the teachers are just left defenseless,
Very true.
So it's a team effort, like you said.
Yeah.
It's a team effort. The children are just the poor things that are caught in the crossfire.
Yeah. And I think it's the whole system that India goes through,
Yeah.
If you start the problem from zero, slowly you will see all the dots are connecting to somewhere in some point. So
I want to know what this point is. I'm kidding. Go on.
Yeah. So it's not like somebody opens a school and let's start and they have no system. So the educational system has some kind of policies, some kind of regulations that every school fall under. But then those educational system also need to be in such a way that they go through rounds, they go through for some kind of checking. What do you call it?
Wetting.
Yeah. So what I mean is, when schools are being run by principal, there are so many things even the principals has to go through. They need to have some more trainings relevant to the current situations. What it becomes, the government comes out with a new rule, and the principal says, teachers, you have to do this, and this at this day or this time you have to finish this work. So the teachers are, what happens with the teacher? They do corrections, they do grading for all the papers, they do lesson plans, they teach all the classes per day maximum. If there is 9 periods, they will have 7 to 8 periods. Okay. Some teachers, they do 9 full complete 9 hours also they work. And then they have extra work from school side and from parent side and from the government side. So they have to feel all those criterias just for what? For the child's future. To make the child's future, the teacher is forgetting their own personal life. To have all this balance also, we need to understand like how they can jump all these loops, and they can being more trained, get more workshops where not only students get to see a life skill thing, but even teachers get to experience how they can be more problem solving. They can have resilience, they can have confidence when such kind of situation comes,
and to know that they're protected.
Yeah.
And then of course conversations like this need to happen about educational policy to change the pressure from the top. But again, it's a feedback loop, because even parents need to ease up on their expectations, which takes time. Now, India is still a developing country.
Yeah.
There are most of our parents' generation, a lot of them have been in that generation where they've been the first ones to be blessed with an education. So they're like, they've seen the power of it. They're so worried, will their students get the best education possible? So that's all they're thinking about, and fine, understandable. No one's going to fault you for that. But we also need to work on educating the population and to tell them, yes, you've been blessed, but there's also this other path. You've been blessed, but now the world is changing, and we don't want to go down this pressure driven path where actually it's not going to be benefiting the students of tomorrow. So let's not make those mistakes now. We have plenty of examples, all around the world of countries who have been through this loop, who have gotten past it, and now who have learned from that whole cycle. Let's learn from those examples and try and figure out how to implement it in a developing system like India, which is hard. India is a very hard place. You can't just say India. You have to look at only one town. In that one town, one school, because it's so diverse. Yeah.
And when we talk about informal education and all this, I think the teachers play a big role. I hope you remember when we have done programs for the teachers, when they come up with new strategies, new way of dealing things, and the fun they have.
Yes.
That makes the difference. Like they feel like they're being valued over there. Our camps makes them feel like, oh, they have such good ideas which can help the children for the betterment.
Oh, they feel empowered to say, I can do something.
I can do. Yeah, exactly. So in a similar way, for informal learning shouldn't be, see, everybody needs no growth, some kind of changes in their life. Even after somebody becomes a teacher, they still go through the process of learning.
That's
and when
true.
informal learning enter to their life, a teacher life, actually it gives them a proper visual of view of how they can balance 10 situations. Like it is like some kind of problems which they are trying to teach their children. Before doing that, they actually realize in their life, they solve, they practice, they experience, go through
before they teach.
Before they teach, then they pass it to their children.
And then it becomes a natural learning, right? Something we've seen also is that when you memorize something, you're not going to teach it very well. Truly teach it. When you experience it, it pours out of you automatically, and the students can tell that.
So finally, one thing is very sure, that learning is very important. If it is formal or informal, learning and teachers are very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone's important in that whole cycle.
I think we all need to be appreciating our teachers.
Absolutely.
Who have put a lot of efforts in our life, who trusted us, who gave us a lot of roles, that we are becoming a leaders today. We are able to teach others. I think I feel no, we shouldn't be limiting this formal and informal in just a setting of children, a classroom, 4 walls. It should be for with families, more of with siblings, with all social
teachers, corporates, everyone.
Everywhere. Yeah, that's why I think that's where we feel the gap. That's where we come.
We're trying to,
Yeah, exactly.
And I hope that one day, this is a weird thing to say, but I hope that one day there's no need for what we do. Because it's already met within the system. Yes. That's the goal, is to become obsolete of any teacher. That's a quote I really like.
Yeah.
Your goal as a teacher is to become obsolete. Then the child knows how to learn themselves. So, thank you so much, Damini. I am really looking forward to a part 2 of this actually. Perhaps we can dive deeper.
Yeah. We can actually talk about the real issues later on.
And perhaps even dive deeper into why we do what we do and how we can be a bigger help to come alongside teachers and principals and help them in their pursuit of true education. Yeah.
Very true.
Thank you so much, Damini.
Thank you.
Had a lovely time.
Yeah.